Good evening and welcome to another episode of Her Path to Success, a show about the Arab American woman and her aspirations and challenges and dreams and just about anything she thinks about. And every time we come to you, we always bring a very exciting guest that will enlighten us about some of her challenges. And today I am honored to have a very close friend of mine, Renee Ahee. Renee and I go back a very long time.
Yes.
And she has a very exciting job, and she just got back from a very exciting trip. So I thought we could take a little bit and talk about NAMA.
Yes.
So Renee, first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks for inviting me.
That's very nice of you. NAMA, N-A-A-M-A.
Correct.
What does that stand for?
It stands for the National Arab American Medical Association.
Okay.
We're a nonprofit professional organization of Arab doctors who practice in the United States. They are from all over the Middle East, the Arab world, and they practice across the medical specialties, everything from anesthesiology to urology.
Excuse me. NAMA is outside of the United States as well?
We have some members outside the United States. We call them corresponding members, but the active members are Arab American physicians and dentists and pharmacists as well.
Oh, you have pharmacists
and dentists. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's good to know. How big is your membership? Are you in all 50 states?
We have 27 chapters. We're in 23 states and with 27 chapters. Ohio is our largest state with 4 chapters.
Wow.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yes.
How long has NAMA been around?
We were established in 1975 in Los Angeles by a group of physicians who wanted both to join in camaraderie with one another and establish a network for them to meet each other, to also try to work together to get positions at various hospitals around the country and so on, and also to effect humanitarian change. They were seeing what was going on in their home countries, and they wanted an outlet for humanitarianism. So NAMA really has 2 main missions. The first mission is medical education. As you know, you might know, physicians in our country have to be continually updating themselves on the newest technology.
When you say our country, you mean the
United States, correct,
okay.
Correct. For a physician to be licensed, he needs to present to his board a certain number of credentials, of what we call continuing medical education credits. And that shows the licensing board that he or she has been working to stay updated on the latest technology or learning how to handle his or her practice, treating the patients differently and better, so on and so forth. So we provide, NAMA is an official provider of continuing medical education credits.
That's awesome. What about, I'm more interested in their humanitarian side overseas.
Well, NAMA has for many years sent not only funds but medical missions, medicine, expertise, medical booklets and so on to their home countries.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, very recently we paid for 2 fully equipped new ambulances to go to Syria.
That is awesome. That, I think, is an interesting mission that I did not know NAMA had.
Right. Actually, we're also helping the Syrian refugees in Jordan. Right now, the head of our auxiliary, Dr. Dalal Abu Zaina, is over there right now and working to provide medical care as well as medicine for some chronic diseases like diabetes and hypertension and so on. We raised enough money to give that to about 370 people.
So are you looking for volunteers? If someone, let's say, wants to volunteer with this mission in Jordan, would they contact you here in the United States?
Actually, we would look for both volunteers and funds.
Okay.
Because NAMA is a nonprofit organization, and we also have the NAMA Foundation. NAMA established the Emergency Medical Relief Fund last year when the Arab Spring broke out.
Okay.
So that we would have funds to be able to respond any place in the Arab world to an insurgency, and we need victims of violence and so on and so forth. So that NAMA is really dedicated to that. But I'd like also to explain that NAMA has a mission to help the Arab Americans in the United States, so that in Arab communities, for example, NAMA just recently donated a sizable sum of money to Access here in Dearborn to help Iraqi refugees. and they need medical care, they need mental health care. When they come over, they're only given a certain number of months before they have to be out on their own. Some of them can't find work. We also have established the Iraqi Refugee Physician Initiative, where we are helping to subsidize Iraqi physicians who are practicing physicians in their own country, but you have to be licensed in our country to practice medicine.
Can you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if someone is licensed to practice in an Arab country and they come here, can you summarize just briefly what is the process to become licensed here? Because I know that happens to a lot of people where they lose their home and they are here not by choice, but they're fully licensed and they're not able to.
Correct. You have to be trained and licensed
Right.
and there are tests. There's the United States Medical Licensing Exam, which is known as the USMLE.
So they have to take a test.
They have to take a test. They have to, of course, be fluent in English.
Okay.
And so they will go through a number of processes that when they come here to become licensed. Now, I'm certainly not a physician, and so I can't actually say every single step of the way what these physicians have to do. But it is a fact that we, as American physicians, can't go to another country and practice without either being licensed or getting permission to practice.
So it's doable.
Oh,
if
it's
someone
absolutely
is
doable.
licensed in the Arab world and they wish to come and start a new life here, they can reach out to you folks. You can help them. If someone wants to donate money, because it sounds to me like you have some really great causes, both here in the United States and overseas, mostly centered around Arabs and Arab Americans, can they go to your website and they would be able to make contact with you?
Sure. NAMA's website is www.nama.com. I would want to clarify for those who are listening that NAMA is a professional organization for Arab American physicians who are already licensed in the United States. We are partners with the American Medical Association's International Medical Graduates section. We also work with a number of organizations that prepare doctors to take the USMLE. NAMA has a relationship with Kaplan Medical, for example, where we provide discounts on their testing programs.
Well, this show is mostly around women. So I'm going to take us into the direction that our audience wants to hear. So I thank you for a little bit of background on NAMA, which I didn't know either. Your membership. What % of your membership is female?
I'm embarrassed to say very small.
I suspected. Do you know what number? 10,
No.
15,
No.
20%?
Actually, we probably have about 100, 200 members, among them who are women.
From your total,
Yes, from the total.
which is?
About 1,500,
1,500 and about 100 to 150 are women?
I would say. And unfortunately, but we're seeing more and more women in med schools anyway. And so we'll be seeing, hopefully, the growth in numbers of Arab American female physicians. We have some wonderful, young, smart women who are wanting to, be practicing and being members of NAMA as well.
As a woman, I have always preferred, obviously, for my whatever doctor I go to be a woman, because there are certain things you don't have to explain to a woman doctor when you talk about certain things. Yes. So I am happy to hear that the number of women is growing.
Yes.
And it's nice to see that our young ladies are not feeling inhibited and are pursuing these careers.
And we would like to encourage them to come to NAMA. One of the things that I've been trying to do, I am not a member, and so I can't officially nominate for our board of directors, but I'm doing some background work to invite some of our young women physicians to take leadership roles. In NAMA's history, we have only had 2 female presidents. And so
that's interesting.
It is very interesting. Dr. Suad Shuber, who is still practicing in the Chicago area, and Dr. Haifa Azawi in the Pasadena area.
So how is it that this mostly male organization has an executive director who's a woman? As a woman, working amongst men that I'm assuming are somewhat conservative in their outlook, what are some of the challenges have you experienced with working with some of the doctors? And you don't have to name names.
No, of course not.
But As in most women that are successful, such as yourself, are typically successful in male-dominated industries, so you are no exception. And it's always interesting to hear the challenges that they face and how they overcome them.
I would like to think that it isn't because I'm a woman, but that I was able to bring to this job my public relations and marketing background and my organizational skills in running a business for several years. Because I owned a business, and still do own Ahee Communications, which is a public relations and marketing firm. So having had the experience of running a business, a small business, knowing the accounting, knowing how to manage major events, which is NAMA is known for its medical conventions, very successful. I would like to think that my skill brought me to the attention of the board. Now, they have, I think it's also the physician, non-physician relationship that goes on here, because I am not a physician, but I feel a good deal of respect from the physicians who know that their expertise is the healing. Mine is the running of the business. So the operational side of things, the creative side, the reaching out to gain new members, we're challenged as other nonprofit organizations are in this economy.
But as a woman, talk to me. I know you didn't get your job because you're a woman,
Right.
and that's great. But I just want to go back to, you are a woman.
Yes.
You are leading an organization that is primarily men.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges that you have had to deal with.
I still have a family, and I work a significant number of hours.
Okay.
I think sometimes, especially, I think by the nature of the business, Jimena, not necessarily because I'm a woman versus a male, but the female executive still has the other job of mothering or running the household or whatever it might be. Our organization is also handled by volunteers. So the physicians work all day long. They're in their hospitals, their clinics, whatever they're doing, and so the work, much of their work is at night. So for me, it is an extremely long day, and sometimes I have the sense that they don't understand that,
That
we
could
work
be-
mighty hard.
That could be very challenging
It is.
if you're at the office 9 to 5, the doctor is at his office 9 to 5,
Right.
and then he gets around to having a meeting at 8 o'clock at night when it's time for your children. I have interviewed several successful women, and always the issue of balancing between work and home is a common denominator.
Yeah.
And it's always amazing to me how people handle it. And most of the women that I've spoken to on this show is, you just do your best and you take it one day at a time, and you do what you can, because many times you don't really have options.
Sure.
However, you as a small business owner might have options, so I want to talk a little bit about that. You are an expert in marketing, public relations, and I know you've done some great jobs. And what made you go out on your own? Again, as a woman, it's could be challenging.
It was challenging and exciting at the same time. I think some of us women who make this decision to become entrepreneurial do so because there was a trigger. In my particular case, I lost my job. I was running a public relations department at one of our major banks here. After a merger, that went away. I made the decision, it was a personal decision, to go into business because my children were young at the time, and my mom was still alive, and so frankly I didn't want to leave our market. And I had established, thankfully to my jobs over the years, wonderful relationships in the communities. And many of my first clients grew out of my relationships that were built. And I developed, I believe, a reputation for integrity, for development, delivering on time, creativity, and so on and so forth. And so until I took the job with NAMA, many of them were clients for all those years.
So you basically leveraged relationships.
Absolutely.
You networked.
Yes.
And that's a skill that we try to communicate to some of our audience, that one of the keys to success is leveraging relationships and networking, which leads me to my next question. If you had one piece of advice to give to a woman watching this show right now and listening, what would you tell her and to give her advice to be successful in the professional world?
I think, do I only have to stay with one?
No,
Okay.
you don't.
Because I think there are many, you've said it, networking and social networking does not take the place of face-to-face networking.
Well, that's interesting that you talk about that, because our kids obviously are more into social networking, and I think many times kids assume that it does replace face-to-face, one-on-one. So I'm glad you raised that, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that, especially because you are in public relations.
I would like to tell our young people that this is a tool, but it doesn't replace the getting to know you that occurs when we meet someone face to face. When we're able to have a conversation like you and I are having, we look into each other's eyes, we understand. Understanding comes from being together, sharing experiences that you can't do in sound bites. And so what I have noticed is the young people are moving away from attending networking events. They are saying, well, I have social network. Yes, but if you watch how you get the job, it's through some relationship that you've established, or mom or dad has established for you. Why don't you go talk to Mr. Smith, and you will get a job. And so I want them to understand that it does have its place. And the world of public relations is moving to social media. You don't run an election, you don't run a campaign for a product or a service without using social media as part of the public relations mix.
But I would think that if you truly want to be successful as a professional, as a young entrepreneur, that to a point, I would think networking, traditional networking, if you will, one-on-one, probably would be maybe like 60-70%, rather than having social media being, so it's like 60 to 70% developing these one-on-one skills, and then maybe 30 to 40% doing social media.
Well, and I would almost go even greater percentage of getting to know someone. Again, if we're talking about a younger entrepreneur, they've grown up with the technology. Those are tools. They don't replace the knowledge of the business. You were asking me what piece of advice would I give entrepreneurial women? You must know your product or your service. So there comes a time in the development of an entrepreneur that they're ready to take on the job. Just because you've been out a couple years, how well do you know your product? What is your niche? What makes you unique? What are your offerings? How are your offerings different than somebody else? And I think that goes for any business. We're seeing people waiting for the next big thing in technology. Well, that's it. I mean, how do you stand apart from anybody else who's offering, in your case, the marvelous services that you offer? What is unique about your service? What's unique about Ahee Communications?
I always tell people, and I tell my staff all the time, why would a customer choose us and not someone that may be equally qualified? And if you're going to be successful, you have to have that answer, because a service is a service is a service. If you provide the service that meets your client's needs, that's fine. But if you begin to expand and help your client better understand their needs, and maybe they have more needs that they didn't think about, so not just to limit yourself to that, that's why me and not someone else.
Well, it is exceeding the expectation.
Thank you. That's a better way of saying it.
And you do that with the uniqueness that you provide. And each one of us does have unique. I mean, not all garage door opener developers, whatever, are the same. What is it makes me want to do business with you that I won't get anyplace else?
I mentor young ladies on a regular basis, and I always tell them, if you give 100%, you're not going to make it.
Unfortunately, the 110, 120 is where you get. And that's also some of the challenges that we, as women, have.
Right.
Because the 110% has to include the other life that we have.
That's right.
As mothers, as heads of household, or whatever it might be. So our challenge is even greater, but it is not something that can't be achieved or surmounted.
Well, of course it can be achieved and surmounted because you're here.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
and we've been honored by several women who have sat in your seat and have overcome these challenges and have given 110% and 120%. So it's definitely doable. I would like to just ask you a couple of questions about the Arab American Women's Business Council, because it is the Arab American Women's Business Council that brings the show to our wonderful audience. And I remember way back in 2006, 2007, it was you, me, and another friend who sat in a coffee shop and made a conscious decision that we want to build this organization. And so as a founding member, and I know you're very proud of the organization because I see you stand tall when you are with your colleagues from the organization. Talk to me about why would such an organization be important to someone as successful as you?
I don't think, Jimena, we ever stop needing one another, whether it's business or our personal life. We don't go through this journey alone. And as you recall, our conversation was, how can we help others? How can we help Arab American women who sometimes will suffer from cultural issues and barriers that some of us don't have? I have to tell you that I never experienced some of the cultural issues that our younger women or others from our other parts of our community have struggled with. So our goal has been to help a woman understand how she can be successful, whether she wants to pursue a profession or she wants to pursue a business. Encourage our young women to establish for themselves a future, determine for themselves how they can be successful, and find a way that they can be financially successful.
Well, I would love to sit and talk to you for a very long time because it's very exciting to listen to your perspective. You've talked about different, old issues for us, but it's a fresh perspective from you, so that's nice. I just want to thank you for being here on the show with us.
I'm honored to do it, and I would love to come back again.
Thank you. So you've heard about different topics that will give you something to think about. You heard about being an expert in a product or a service so that you can better package yourself if you are trying to start your own business. We talked about how to be a good humanitarian and how that's important to success, and always remembering to give something back to your community. So this brings us to the end of Her Path to Success. I want to thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Medical mistakes are a global concern. At Henry Ford, we've chosen to set a new standard. If every hospital adopted our practices for quality and safety, it would virtually eliminate prescription drug errors and infections. It would reduce mortality rates by over 25%. And this year alone, it would save over 1.1 million lives. When the world needs a higher standard, they look to Henry Ford.
ساب اوف تروي يقدم أكبر التشكيلة من السيارات المستعملة كالبي ام دبليو، سابز، رينج روفر، لاند روفر وغيرها. زوروا صالات العرض الآن واستفيدوا من العروضات التالية: 2006 BMW X3i SUV for $19,995 only. 2006 Saab 9.3 sedan for $8,995 only. A 2005 Saab 9.3 Aero convertible, $12,995. A 2007 Mercury Milan for $10,995 only. Sab of Troy, all types of vehicles to fit any budget. 248-205-1333. 248-205-1333.
Understood. My working hours can change instantly. The mission is a constant, but every day is different. What I do is important, yet no one will ever know. But an entire nation will be grateful. Don't just watch the news. Live it. 24/7. Washington, D.C. area careers in CIA's National Clandestine Service.
Get your MBA at Walsh College. Live, breathe, business.